Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rider Ramblings. It's a wet day. It's not actually raining, and I still haven't fixed the ABS, but it is the rear, because just stamping on the rear brake actually does turn it off. I've got to do that. But other things have got in the way, like medical problems. So rather than discuss my medical problems, I'm going to rediscuss, because I discussed this a year or so ago, the differences in the health systems between the UK and France, and probably why French healthcare is better than UK healthcare. Now everybody's going to go, no it isn't, no it isn't. But let me explain. As you know, I started life in the Far East, and having started life in the Far East, we were on private medical contract. So I've had completely private, I've had the NHS, I even had the NHS fund holder system, and I've had the French system. So I've had quite a few different medical systems to test. Now of course the completely private one is probably the most effective and efficient, because quite simply you're seen virtually immediately, and you then get your checkbook out and pay. So that's the private system. I mean, we had the company health insurance, so quite simply, although we paid, it was then reimbursed by the company health system. Anyhow, then we had the NHS. Now, I can remember the NHS back in the 1960s, when it was very much like, what was it, Carry On Doctor and that type of thing, with nurses in starched uniforms and so on, and doctors doing their rounds, etc, etc, etc. Yes, I had Hong Kong flu in 68. I think it was 68 or was it 69, can't remember, and had a spell in a sanatorium because of it. So I can honestly say I know about that sort of healthcare. Anyhow, let's get to the differences first of all. I mean, in the UK, everybody says it's the NHS and it's very good, but the problem we have today is everything is money. It's got nothing to do with patient care. It's got everything to do with money, which is wrong. It's basically wrong. So there isn't enough money to provide the care that people need. So consequently, you spend way too long waiting for a doctor's appointment. And then if it's a non-urgent but annoying disease of some sort, then you've probably got to wait a very long time, until such times as rush hour or something, until such times as you can the treatment that you need at the hospital. Now, back in the 1990s, the Conservative government brought in this fund holder system, which everybody was against, until you used it. And I had the pleasure, and I'm going to say the pleasure, even though it was unpleasant, of using the fund holder system in the UK. I think it was about, I can't remember the date, I think it was about 95, but I can't remember. And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I got to see my doctor immediately. He then sent me to see a specialist, which was at a private hospital, within about a week. And then the specialist said, yes, you need surgery. And so I was booked into an NHS hospital about 2 weeks later for the surgery as a day patient. And I was treated and released, and they fixed my problem, and everything was beautiful. It was really good. And then about 3 or 4 years later, after the fund holder system had been scrapped, I had a recurrence, but not exactly the same. And this time, of course, I had to go through the new socialist NHS system, and I can only say it was dreadful. I had to wait about 2 months for an appointment to see the specialist, and then I was actually quite lucky. I got about a month later, I was able to go to the hospital and have the treatment. And this time the treatment was terrible, it failed. And basically at the end of it all, my doctor said, well, that's it, mate. Until you're in a wheelchair, we're not going to do anything else. Since then, I had to use the NHS a few times, and luckily it was before the current mess, because I think the last time I'd used the NHS was about 2007, might have been 2008, I can't remember. So you were able to get to see the doctor relatively quickly. It was about a week or so, if I remember rightly then, and so on. But I didn't need, oh yes, I did need hospital treatment for one thing, and that was actually very good. I'd forgotten about that. That was very good, and so I am casting nasturtiums, but yes, that was about 2001, 2002. They just built the new Cumbria Royal Infirmary, or whatever they called it, and nice new hospital, nice new equipment, nice new everything, and everybody seemed to know what they were doing. And it wasn't, as I say, it wasn't too long between seeing the doctor, having the specialist appointment and so on, and then going in for surgery. I think it was about 2 weeks between each one, approximately. Right, then we come to France. Now, France runs a public-private system, and the public will only cover the public system only covers certain costs. And there are public hospitals and private hospitals, but if you want slightly more than the very, very basics, then you're paying for it. whether you want to or not. And this includes various operations that are free in the UK. So basically you need health insurance in France. There's no getting around that. No matter how poor you are, you need some level of health insurance. It's essential. And they do different levels on that. Now the difference is that I can usually get to see the doctor within 24 hours, and sometimes it can be quicker as well. Sometimes it can be quicker. So it depends a little bit on circumstance and luck, but normally if you want to make an appointment, it's about 24 hours. So if I wanted to make an appointment now, I would probably get one on Friday. Today being Thursday, I'll probably get Friday evening, because the doctors run until about 7 or sometimes 8 o'clock in the evening, some of them, depending on which one. Right. So getting to see a doctor is quite quick. The next thing is that once you've seen the doctor, you have to pay, and it's 30 euros. Now some of that is paid back by the state. I can't remember exactly how much. What's going on here? You're a mess. I think it's 18 euros is paid back by the state, I think. I can't remember, it might be a bit more. And then the rest is either paid by your insurance or by out of your pocket, depending on what your insurance is like and so on. So, for example, getting laboratory tests and so on is separate. You don't do that at the doctor. He will give you a prescription, and you'll go to whichever laboratory you want to go to, who will then usually see you within half an hour of you walking through the door. I mean, some of the tests, of course, require that you have them first thing in the morning before you eat or drink anything. But apart from that, so you might have to wait till the morning, but it's immediate. You know, it's usually, as I say, within half an hour or so of walking through the door. There's no appointment usual. And if it's a blood test, quite often you'll get your results back within about 4 hours. So 4 hours after you've given blood, you get your test back. If it's a biological test, stools, etc., well, that can take a bit longer, but I think it's about 12 hours usually is the minimum that you can get it back in. Then of course you make an appointment to see your doctor, which takes 24 hours. Your doctor is also sent the results, but this is your choice though. You can choose whether the doctor receives your results or whether you go to the doctor with your results. Once the doctor gets your results, which is usually the same time you do, but of course it depends on how busy he is and when he gets a chance to read them. If the results are, how can I put it, not good, he will probably telephone you and arrange an appointment very, very quickly. They seem to always have a slot available somewhere. So like the same day or the next morning. Don't ask me how I know this. Yes, I did get some bad results and he did phone me and say, I want to see you like ASAP. But he said that in French. So yes, it's a different system. Now, most laboratory tests are covered by your insurance and your social security payments, so the government. So you don't have to worry too much about those. It depends on exactly what your insurance cover is. So, as I say, once you've got the results, then the doctor will decide what's what. So, prescription, more tests, or whatever. Say I needed more tests. So, literally the morning after, I was back being tested, and by lunchtime I got the results. Quite literally. So it's very, very quick, and it's the same if you want to see surgeons and specialists and so on. Now, for some, the wait can be about a month to 6 weeks. But most of them, I found that you can usually get to see them within about 2 to 3 weeks, these specialists. And then they will arrange whatever they need to arrange to happen. I'm not sure what 𝗪𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗁 is doing, but never mind, I don't think he does. So the public-private system works very well, but it does mean that you have to pay every month. Now, in the UK, you still have to pay for eyes, ears, and teeth. I've forgotten one. And it's the same in France, and of course your insurance covers that, and a lot of people in the UK will have insurance for eyes, ears and teeth. So it's basically a bit similar, as I say, to France. You're still paying out through insurance for certain things. Now, of course, if you're on benefits or retired, then in theory you pay nothing. But in practice, it's not always the case. So, from my point of view, I think a public-private system would be absolutely ideal, and I think that's the way to go. Now, a lot of people will be against this and saying, no, it's public money, it can't be given to the private sector. But the way I see it is that the Social Security says, this is the amount we're going to pay. Okay, if you want to go private, we will pay, for example, £150. And if the operation costs £300 and you want to go to a private hospital, then you pay the extra £150, or your insurance pays the extra £150, or whatever. And that's what I think should happen. So if you go to an NHS hospital, then you pay you get it covered because it's part of the whatever the NHS actually, the amount is whatever the NHS actually costs. And bright buggers, some of them, aren't they? We find this a lot. There's a lot of impolite people in this world. Come on, Charlie. C'est très glissant pour les motos. Anyhow, I'll leave it there. Please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.